Thank you for tuning in to another segment on the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. On this segment, we'll be discussing quarterbacks that are on the hot seat for this upcoming NFL season. Evan, I got to hear your take. I'm sure we probably agree more than we disagree on some of them, but I'm gonna let you kick this one off, my man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So first one I've got Kirk Cousins. One
Mm,
year left on his deal right now. He's got a couple void years coming up. They're going to be paying him $28.5 million next year to not be on the roster currently. Now, extending him could lessen that number and could make things better. But now you're talking about extending him. He's going to be 35 next season. You're talking about 36, 37, 38. And I don't think you want to dip into that territory with Kirk Cousins. You have new head coach. You are moving on from Dalvin Cook. You've got a good piece in Justin Jefferson right now, and it looks like they're kind of trending toward maybe not a hardcore rebuild because there's still good pieces there, but just kind of a retooling. And I don't know if Kirk Cousins is necessarily what you want to hitch your wagon to. So I would expect that after this year, I think Kirk Cousins is going to have to blow people away to prove he's still got it and is worth investing in for future years. Otherwise, I think he's off this year.
I actually did not have that on my hot seat one, but I couldn't agree more.
Right.
I think that Kirk Cousins definitely has to prove a lot, especially with a standout wide receiver that he has in Justin
Mhm.
Jefferson. That guy has grown impatient, it seems like, with constantly underperforming.
There's a hall of obviously we've got the Hall of Fame. Like Kirk Cousins would be the quarterback in the Hall of Good. Like
Yes,
just good.
the
Like
Hall
he
of
is
Good. Yes,
he shows up like for a couple games every year where you're like, damn, Kirk Cousins really did his thing. And then there's other games where
Andy
it's just
Dalton
like,
was
hey,
like
come
that
on.
too.
He's very much like a Andy Dalton was like a poor man's Kirk Cousins. Like I
Oh,
feel like Kirk Cousins has been more
really?
consistent
Yeah.
than Andy was throughout his career. Even though Andy's peaks, well, I don't know. Kirk's had some pretty good peaks too, man. So I feel
Wow,
like
that's interesting.
I
Yeah.
feel like Kirk has been a more consistent Andy
Yeah.
Dalton. I think that's
Yeah.
fair to say
More consistent than Andy Dalton. He's a more
because he had a
consistent Andy
weird
Dalton than Andy.
situation going on in
Yeah.
Washington where
Yeah.
he still played pretty well despite that.
Yeah.
He came into the Vikings and has kept them competitive consistently. Now, of course, he hasn't necessarily had the success, but
Mhm.
has had a little bit of postseason success. So I I find that interesting that he's just kind of like that, 12 to 16th best quarterback all the time. And at his best, maybe he's 10, 9,
Yeah.
8, but
Oh,
that's
for
rare.
sure. I think for me, I would probably point to Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is always in this, and it's a shame. I feel like he's always in this weird cycle of not getting the respect that he may deserve.
Mhm.
Right. Basically, Jared Goff is the guy. He's if you ever played NCAA 14,
Oh, I played the hell out
it
of
would
NCAA
say
14.
safe for now as a coach, right?
Right?
Jared Goff is always going to have that tag safe for now. And
Right.
Jared Goff could go on to have a fantastic season, but if there's an
And he played well
opportunity,
last year.
right? If there's an opportunity for the Lions to upgrade, I
Right.
don't think that they wouldn't upgrade in a heartbeat because it's like he's good
Mhm.
for us, but I
I
like that
think he
new toy.
suits their vision. We've
Right.
talked about how they're kinda going underneath with a lot of yak and trying to play just good sound football according to how they wanna play.
Mhm.
But I definitely think if they end up at the end of the year dissatisfied and say, "Man, we had a down year in the division, maybe we went to the playoffs and we got there, but we couldn't win
Mhm.
in the first round.
You
We need
know,
to
you
upgrade
know how I
somewhere."
view him? I view Jared Goff very similar to Alex Smith. I think we like him. He's our
Mhm.
starter until he's not. Listen, the Chiefs had Alex Smith as their starting
Mhm.
quarterback, right? And then what happened? They drafted Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Once they drafted Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith was still the starter until he wasn't. And
Right.
it's one of those things where until there's an opportunity for an upgrade that stares them in the face, Jared Goff will be the starting quarterback of the Lions. Unfortunately, as tough as that is to say, it's a sad reality.
Right.
Who else you got?
So my other one that I'm kind of looking at, Mac Jones. And this isn't
Wow. Okay.
necessarily because of anything Mac Jones has done. I
Mhm.
feel like Mac Jones has been set up for failure. I mean, when you talk about you're putting defensive coordinators and special teams coaches and having them call plays and run the offense, which they've never done before, and look at his wide receiver core he's had to deal with, like injuries on the offensive line. He's had a really tough go of it after looking solid. Like I'm not saying he blew people away his rookie year, but he looked capable, right? People find crazy ways to get excited about Brock Purdy for running the Shanahan offense, which we've seen many quarterbacks do. But then Mac Jones, suddenly everybody's off him after last year. I just think that organization might want to move a different direction. I think I feel the discontent between both sides, kind of after what they were set up with last year. I feel like Mac's a little rubbed the wrong way. I feel like the organization, and that's going to obviously winning cures all, but especially in a tough division now with the Jets, the Dolphins, I see the Patriots kind of being toward the bottom of the division, and they say we need something fresh, right? And it's not going to be getting rid of Bill. So the next best thing is, well, we're making a change at quarterback.
Right.
We're gonna just get some fresh air there. So again, nothing that I say Mac Jones deserves to be cut, or he should be on the hot seat, but I feel like it just feels like they're kind of trending toward that parting of ways.
And if that happens, I can definitely see a scenario in which Mac Jones finds his way to the 49ers.
Or how about Oakland?
49. Yes, that would make sense.
Because Jimmy's going to be off his contract. They've still got pieces like, well, I don't know if Renfro will be there long term, but
if Kyle Shanahan gets the opportunity to get Mac Jones, he's going to go after him. I think he's going to look at Mac Jones like, hey, if I could.
Do you feel like Kyle Shanahan at this point is just like, give me whatever, give me anybody, give me? He literally said, give me Sam Darnold. I will take Sam. I will make Sam Darnold work. Do you think that's? Yeah, I think he just looks at that like, man, I could totally make Sam Darnold work. Everybody else has failed with Sam Darnold, but I could totally do it.
Like, it wouldn't shock me at all if Sam Darnold has a good year.
I mean, Nick Mullins looked good, man. You remember when people were talking about like Nick Mullins was the next Brett Favre or some shit because they both went to some Southern Miss. God bless. Anyway, your next one, man. Go ahead.
100%. That I definitely think that. I think it's one of those things where I do think Kyle Shanahan is the ultimate quarterback whisperer. I think Kyle Shanahan is better with quarterbacks than Sean McVay is, to be honest with you as well. And that's a tip of the hat to him. Man, if you're making me dig in the bag, I think this is Baker Mayfield's last shot as a starting quarterback in the National Football League as well. I mean, for obvious reasons, we don't need to go into it, but Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield has gotten an opportunity with the Browns. It didn't work out, but the Browns are the Browns. Baker Mayfield got an opportunity with the Carolina Panthers. That was weird, a weird one, right? It was strange.
The fit was weird.
Problem. He had one with the Rams, I believe, as well. And I thought that one had some promise, to be honest.
You think Kyle Trask maybe pushes him for a little bit of starting time if things don't go well off the rip, just so they can evaluate what they have in Trask? Because you feel like you know what Baker is at this point.
I think it's gonna be one of those points where we're gonna see Kyle Trask at some point this year. Right. Like Baker's gonna get benched at some point. And I think it's gonna be one of those things where you're gonna have to see what he's got, right?
Yeah.
And you have no choice. So that one's gonna be very, very interesting. But yeah, that's what I'm going with. Who else you got?
So I got one more, man, and that's one we've kind of talked about before, and I called this man backup in the NFL, and that's Ryan Tannehill. Because Ryan Tannehill, I'm sorry, man, you've carved out a heck of a career, man. Talking about a guy who was a former receiver, came in and played one of the hardest positions in sports, and really kind of stuck on toward the back end of Miami, started to put it together, went to Tennessee, had a really good career in Tennessee, but with Levis being there, I don't think Malik Willis is necessarily long for that, but I think they definitely will want to move toward Levis. I think this is the last year that they really want to deal with Tannehill. He's already getting older. You don't want to re-sign him. There's other cheaper backup options out there after the fact. 100%. And I feel like this is just kind of like the natural changing of the guard for them moving on in Tennessee, where he doesn't even finish the whole season, because I think there's a realistic chance that Tennessee has one of the worst records in the NFL this season.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I agree with that. That's even going to bring for an interesting topic, right? Because suppose they do have a horrible record this year and they're in the position to draft Drake May.
Yeah.
All right. The number one quarterback in the draft this year. I'm kidding. Caleb Williams, really. But suppose they're in the opportunity to draft one of those guys, right? What do they do? Right? What do they do? And I think this is going to be very, very interesting. But I'm agreeing with you. I think this is Ryan Tannehill. I think it's time to take Old Yeller out back and
yep.
Yeah. So that one's going to be interesting. I think if I had to throw one more out there, because you can point to a lot of different quarterbacks potentially on the quote unquote hot seat of quarterbacks, but
Can I give you a hot takey one real quick?
Sure.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
if this goes as poorly as it did last year, and you're Sean Payton and you're the new ownership, and you're looking at that and you're saying, wow, we gave this guy a lot of money, but can we honestly tell our fans and our team and everything, if it goes as poorly as it did last year, we're really trying to be competitive and win if we want to keep that? Not even saying that Russell Wilson shouldn't be a starter for another team, but sometimes fits just don't work.
Right.
And we know Sean Payton is not exactly the most accommodating coach to where he's going to like we used our word before, acquiesce to player demands, right?
Acquiesce,
Where
yep.
he's going to say, I'm going to make concessions with how I want to run my team or
Mhm.
my offense because of what you want to do. He's got the cachet to say,
100%,
no,
yeah.
Russell Wilson, kick rocks.
Right.
Like, so that would be something that's obviously an extreme that, is low percentage chance of happening, especially with the financial investment they've made, but just very interesting to see how that situation works out.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I had any other ones that came to mind. I just don't know if I can point to
There's
any
not
where it's
that
like,
many, man. There's a lot of young guys coming in right now. Davis Mills is probably not going to be, he's
yeah.
not going to be there because of, CJ Stroud. So I couldn't say him, but I mean,
What about Garoppolo?
Garoppolo is a freaking, like placeholder, like, one of those little things filled with like little granular
Mhm.
sand at the desk that your paperweight. Like he's a paperweight. He's holding up
That's
that
all
open
he is.
spot right now. Yeah, he's a placeholder. I don't get that. I do not understand it. I have no idea what they're doing when they have Hunter Renfrow and Devontae and one more year of Josh
Mhm.
Jacobs and a pretty good offensive line and the defensive that's, is still in work in progress, but you got guys like Max Crosby, who's one of the better edge. Like
Oh, yeah.
I don't see how that Jimmy signing just lines up with your timeline.
Right. I
But
couldn't agree
yeah,
more. I couldn't agree more. But if you guys like more video content like this, make sure you guys do us a huge favor. Give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. If you guys have any other quarterbacks who you think might be on the hot seat, or maybe we missed one, or you think we just don't know what we're talking about, make sure you know, put that in the comment section and we'll be sure to give you guys an answer.